Old Roundhead hopped outside to join the other chickens, whose now numbers included 4 big-footed roosters dressed up in rip-torn shirts and knee-patched overalls. The loosely defined plan for careful exploration of the box was moving along fine. It seemed like all they had to do was consider a necessary action, and the box took care of most of the task itself. This was the lesson learned from Leon's offhand remark and the box's reaction to it. The box moved on its own, and in so doing fulfilled Leon's wish. Jay said, "Hey, go get the tarp that's hanging on the fence to the dog pen." Now, while his directive was aimed at the group in general, Wes was the first responder. "Oh, no, not me." The memory of Buck's sharply pointed teeth was still as fresh on his mind as the scar on his thumb. "You can pull it on the fence from the outside," said Jay. "Nope. I ain't gonna do it." "I'll do it," said Wayne. He didn't wait for any further debate on the subject. He headed for the dog pen, which was just right behind the chicken house. As instructed, Wayne found the 9 by 12-foot canvas tarp draped over the dog pen fence. Most of it was on the inside of the fence. Grabbing a corner of the tarp, Wayne began to tug with all the strength he could muster. To his own surprise, he was actually making some progress. He took a short breather and looked around to ask for assistance from the others, who he would have half expected them to follow him. He found himself quite alone in this task. He could barely hear the others mumbling and could not see them as they were on the other side of the chicken house from him. Well, he regained his grip on the tarp and took another deep breath and gave it another mighty tug. The tarp was moving, and he was at this point where more tarp was on his side than on the dog pen side. "Won't be long now," he said between grunts. I'm doing it. I just about got it." With victory at hand, literally at his fingertips, a very strange thing happened. He mentally crafted his victory speech. He knew he would have to brag about it to the others when they saw him coming around the corner of the chicken house dragging that 9 by 12 tarp all by his little old skinny self. His speech and the words that were to be in it turned to vapor as the reality of the moment set in. Suddenly, his forward progress stopped, and he began to be pulled back toward the fence. A full-scale tug-of-war began on spot, with Wayne on one end of the tarp and Buck the boy-eating dog on the other. Wayne's relationship with Buck up to this point could be defined as a peaceful coexistence. Buck was beginning to scare him a little bit now, though. He started to yell for assistance, but then he realized Buck just wanted to play. If Wayne was going to go and get that tarp, he's going to have to outsmart old Buck. Well, having lost almost all of what he had gained in tarp footage, Wayne decided to try a trick on old Buck. He decided to use his sharply honed knowledge of various fishing techniques learned almost wholly around the perimeter of Messamores Pond. Wayne decided to let Buck have a little line and then jerk real hard to see if he could wrest the tarp from the monster dog's mouth. Wayne miscalculated the process a bit, whereas the fishing technique is more appropriate to the setting of a hook rather than allowing a release from it. A loosened grip followed by a sharp jerk only did 2 things. 1, Wayne lost more ground, and 2, Buck became convinced of his own imminent victory. Must try a new tactic, Wayne thought to himself. As Wayne turned to face his opponent, he noted that the tarp twisted a little while still firmly in his grip. "Aha," he said. "I've got you now." Wayne started twisting the tarp. After a few turns, the twisted lump of canvas made it to Buck, and he was forced to turn with it. Buck held his grip as long as he could. Then he would release it momentarily to get another hold with his big white sharp teeth. Each time he released for another bite, Wayne pulled with all his strength to regain his right share of the tarp. He was twisting and jerking and twisting and jerking. Finally, Wayne managed to get the whole tarp over on his side to the fence. With the battle won, Wayne sat on the ground for a moment to rest. He watched Buck as he also lay down himself and crossed his front legs in front of himself as he panted. The combatants lay there measuring the mettle of of each other through the fence wire. Wayne was certain he saw a smile in this dog's face. Wayne got up and began to drag his hard-fought prize to the chicken house. After his face-to-face encounter with Buck, somehow it just didn't seem right to go bragging about it. The matter was between him and Buck. "Here's the tarp." "What do you want me to do with it?" asked Wayne. Jay said to the others, "Hey, let's get this thing into the chicken house and cover up the box." Dutifully, Wes and Leon followed Jay's lead as he grabbed a hold of a corner of the tarp. Jay was at one corner with Wayne on the opposite corner from him. Wes and Leon took a position opposite each other on the two other corners. Jay began to drag it toward the opening of the chicken house. The tarp moved with a jerkiness akin to rail cars bumping and lurching when a train's locomotive powers up from a dead stop. Jay was the locomotive. The boys, holding the other three corners, were the rail cars. The tarp wobbled about unevenly with each attempt by Jay to drive the tarp through to the chicken house door. Finally, the train moved in unison and Jay entered the doorway and the others followed. Once the tarp was inside, the task of maintaining any sort of coordinated forward motion was again thwarted. This time, the confined space afforded by the chicken house gave rise to an instant rebellion by three rail cars that had up to this point been following the locomotive without measurable complaint. All of this changed quickly due to the smallness of the interior space. Also, a negative contributor was the physical configuration of the interior. Oddly enough, it had apparently been designed for the comfort of a variety of chickens much smaller than those now struggling to maintain their footing, let alone their dignity. "What is that smell?" said Leon, always ready to miss the obvious. "Son, that there is grade A prime chicken poop," Jay responded.